This video was sponsored by Zombie Lips. Have you become a zombie? Then you just might suffer from what we call zombie lips. Lips that people just don't want to kiss. Lips that are dry, cracked, and chipped. And it's not always your lips, sometimes it's your hands as well. With skin like that, real zombies would never bother to chew your flesh. But don't worry, the cure is here. The great folks over at zombielips.squarespace.com have care packages available. They've got skin cream, lip balm, and chapstick that will leave you feeling refreshed, smooth, and cured of your zombification. I tried them myself, and just check out these luscious lips. Seriously though, I absolutely love the cream for my dry hands, and the chapstick feels great and cool. Plus, everything came in this awesome minimalistic post-apocalyptic care package. So, to cure your zombieism and get your zombie lip skincare today, check out zombielips.squarespace.com. Thanks, Zombie Lips. Speaking of consumerism, in the fight concerning what might be the world's largest gathering of weird people, Costco is only second to Walmart. This world is a strange one. Humans used to hunt and gather to survive. Now our hunting and gathering consists of giving ourselves heart attacks fighting to button up our pants, just so we can get off the couch and go to the grocery store. Oh yes, thanks to places like Costco, we can grab a month's worth of food for a bargain, and maybe a little bit of diabetes too. But when a lot of people gather in one place, the most terrible and creepy things can happen. And if the place isn't crawling with creepy strangers, it might be filled with haunts of every variety. So enjoy these allegedly true Costco horror stories. Number 1. Costco Creeper. Submitted by Thomas. This experience might also be a bit of a let's not meet story, but in order to convey why it was scary, I need to provide some background. My grandfather died when I was around 2 years old, and sometime later my grandmother remarried to a real sleazeball. Honestly, at first, he actually seemed like a fun guy. He was wealthy, although in retrospect it isn't really clear how much. But he owned a lot of nice cars, a motorcycle, a speedboat, and even a small plane. He gave us rides on all of them. He took my grandmother on vacations all over the world. However, we gradually learned that there was more about him than we initially saw. He always carried a radar detector in his car. What she explained was so he could exceed the speed limit every time he could. He just wanted to be sure where the cops were. He also struck up a conversation once with me and my younger brother, a talk about how he thought it would be fun to rob a bank. He also had children and grandchildren from a previous marriage, and the grandchildren we met were really bizarre too. There are no doubt other things about the old coot that I'm forgetting, but the bit that really pushed us towards our breaking point was that this whack job fancied himself an inventor. And since marrying my grandmother, he had been using what had been her life savings to patent and manufacture a number of really stupid, essentially useless inventions, which, go figure, did not sell well. Eventually, my grandmother and other family members started to call him out on this, and when he insisted on continuing to waste her money on this failed venture, she filed for divorce, only for this scumbag to fight a court battle for over a year to hold on to as many assets as he could. My poor grandmother would emerge from it all exhausted and much poorer than she had been going into it. It was just a disastrous marriage. The worst part, though, is that in court, we had learned that he'd pulled the same ploy on his previous wife, blowing her money on frivolous inventions until she had wisened up and booted him out the door. How does all this relate to Costco? Well, years after I thought this nightmare was finally over, I was at the local Costco with my mother. She told me to go out to the food court to order us a pizza, while she herself went through the checkout line to finish up. After placing my order for a pizza, I walked back into the main store, and then I saw my mother by a register conversing amiably with an eerily familiar old-looking geezer and a sweet-looking old lady with him. No, could it be? I thought. I could hardly believe it, and I would not go anywhere near them. Eventually my mother was done and she came out. She cheerily asked me, "Guess who I met in line in there?" And sure enough, it was my ex-step-grandpa, with what was probably wife number 3. I'll admit I got pretty angry at my mother. She had spent years seeing this jerk destroy her own mother's life, and here she was being chummy with him as if nothing bad had ever happened. I'd say let's not meet to the old kook, but he's been dead for some time now. However, in the aftermath of that meeting, I dreaded entering that Costco for fear that I might encounter that old sleazy up close, and always wondered if he was out for revenge, what he might have been capable of. And I still wonder if before he died he got away with exploiting a third victim, and if my mother could have saved her had she only grown a spine and warned her there in the Costco line. Number 2. Crazy Man at Costco. Submitted by Kate H. I am an 18-year-old female, and this story happened just a few months ago while I went to Costco with my boyfriend and his 13-year-old sister. I'm not going to fill this story with a bunch of unnecessary stuff, so I'll try to get to the point. We were shopping for groceries and other various items when Sarah, my boyfriend's sister, said she needed to use the restroom, and I wasn't really sure where the bathroom was, so Tyler, my boyfriend, told her to go ask an employee. She ran off in search of one, leaving Tyler and I alone, and at this point our grocery shopping adventure was about halfway done. "Oh crap, I forgot something in the other aisle. I'll be right back," Tyler said, now leaving me completely alone where I stood. I guess he thought it'd be faster if he just left me here and ran and got it himself. I was waiting there for about 2 or 3 minutes before an older man, maybe in his late 50s, walked into the aisle I was in. He had long, completely gray hair, a long coat that nearly touched the floor, and he looked like he was on various drugs from the way he was walking and looking around. He was very twitchy and nervous looking. We made eye contact for a moment, right when I wanted to nope out of there. I turned around quickly and tried to walk out of the aisle. Now, I said tried because this guy ran over to me, and he grabbed the back of my jacket. "I'm taking you home with me," the man said. My stomach and heart felt like they traded places. I screamed, and I elbowed the man in his stomach as hard as I could. And at that moment, I was so sure I was about to get kidnapped, just feeling the stranger's hands on me. It was terrifying. "Get the heck off of her!" I heard Tyler scream at the man. He rushed over from behind me and punched the guy right in the nose, causing him to turn and run in the opposite direction. Just then I realized that Sarah had walked in that direction too. If she came back the same way, what if that guy wasn't done? I pulled Tyler by the arm, leaving all of our groceries in the cart. As we turned the corner, all of my fears were confirmed. We saw that same man, blood running from his nose, pulling at Sarah by the arm and her hair. The two of us ran at him, and 2 male employees rushed over and pulled the man away. Then another one of them stopped Tyler from beating the crap out of the guy. They held the guy down while someone called the cops, and I tried to calm Tyler down. I didn't want him to do anything stupid. Sarah was just quiet and horrified, and so was I. Tyler and I both tried to reassure her. The police arrived after about 10 minutes, arresting the guy and informing us that the guy was drunk and apparently on various drugs. They searched the man's car and found rope, a hunter's knife, a handgun, and duct tape. I swear I felt my heart stop the moment the police told me this. After finishing our business with the cops, we all went home, not really caring about the groceries any longer. Tyler and I are still together to this day, living with his little sister. Tragically, his parents both died about a year ago in a car accident, and now the only people Sarah can look up to is Tyler and I. And ever since, the 3 of us never separated when we were out in public. Number 3. Creeper at Costco. Submitted by Veronica F. A while back, a friend of mine told me about a creepy experience she had at Walmart, and it brought something back to the surface that happened to me personally. This experience took place when I was 16 years old. It was 2011 and I lived in southern Utah. My mother usually goes shopping every Friday, but this one Friday she felt very sick, so she sent me out to Costco with a grocery list to do her shopping for her instead. Around halfway through my grocery shopping, I was in the toilet paper aisle when I noticed a man who I would say was in his mid to late 50s, If I were to take a guess at his exact age, I would say he looked about 56 or 57 years old. This man reminded me of Reg from The Walking Dead. I thought nothing of him and continued my shopping. A few seconds passed and he began to get closer. He gave me a smile and a wave, and then asked if I could direct him to the chips aisle. He said he was new in town. I gladly gave him the directions and he gave me another small wave as he went on his way. 10 minutes went by as I was getting yogurt. I felt someone squeeze on my butt. I turned around and I wasn't surprised when I saw the same old man from the toilet paper aisle behind me, giving me a creepy stare and a smile. I couldn't believe this freaking pervert grabbed me in an aisle with at least 3 other people around. I was absolutely speechless, not to mention angry and terrified. Right as I was about to tell him off, he whispered into my ear, "How about you come to the bathroom with me and give me a little fun? How does that sound?" I told him no, and he seemed disappointed. He wasn't having it. He grabbed me again, and I told him to back off. But of course, he didn't listen. The next thing he did was absolutely disgusting. He pulled down his pants and began to touch himself in the middle of the aisle. It didn't take long for a woman further down to notice this scene, and she went looking for a Costco employee. She found one an aisle over and told him what was going on. As the employee made his way towards the end of the aisle where I was, the old man saw, and he didn't even bother to pull up his pants. He simply ran for it. He was caught by 2 other Costco employees by the exit, who held him down and called 911. The cops showed up 15 to 20 minutes later, and the employees explained everything. The man was arrested, and that's where this story ends. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I hope he's still behind bars. I'm 21 years old now, and this experience still haunts me to this day. Number 4. Costco Horror Story. Submitted by Samantha. This happened about a month ago now. I'm a 17-year-old girl, and keep in mind that teenagers do reckless things. My friends and I took a trip to a few of the big stores every weekend to mess around, like Home Depot or Target. This time it was Costco, but this Costco was on the bad side of our town. We still decided to go because it was the only one around that was close enough. When we arrived, we noticed immediately that there are a lot of people out. It was the weekend after all, and we began to wonder if it would be a good idea to do what we usually did, or just wait till it was closing time. After a bit of discussion, we decided to finally go inside. Let's just say around this time, the strangest people are out, stealing things, getting arrested, starting fights. As we walked through, we decided to go where the food is, because who doesn't enjoy the sensation of big boxes of food? I walked off to go look at the alcohol after that. This store didn't have any cameras that we saw, and I had my book bag with me, so I was going to steal a few bottles. Again, we were not very wise teens. As I start to grab a few bottles, I feel like I'm being watched. I looked around and I knew I was alone, so maybe I was just imagining things. After all, I was doing something illegal. But I couldn't help but feel like someone was peeking at me. I grabbed 2 bottles and started to walk around, because it was probably a worker. As I continue walking by myself, I catch up with my friends, and I still have the feeling as if someone is watching me. Someone is following me. I try to shake it off and take a deep breath. I begin walking toward the bathroom. Since there definitely wouldn't be any cameras in there, it's the easiest spot to shove whatever you've got into your bag. I reach the bathroom and I take a quick look back just to see if anyone was following me. But obviously I see no one behind me. But the feeling remains. I still feel as if someone was there, someone just out of sight. So I run into the bathroom quickly. I lock the stall door, shove the 2 bottles I have into my bag, but then I hear the telltale creak of the door opening in the bathroom. I swallow hard, and I pick up my bag slowly, carefully standing on the toilet. I'm doing my very best as I move to not make any sounds. I watch as a shadow passes by the stall door I was behind. They pass again and stop by the stall I'm in. I angle myself, trying my best to see who it is. I could make out their shoes, and their heavy breathing was plain as day. This was no woman. This was a man, and they were peeking in at me. I cleared my throat and I say, "Excuse me, you're in the wrong bathroom." As I say that, the person just runs out, and I can hear the guy giggling as he does. Just soon enough, I open the stall door, and I catch a glimpse of him. It was definitely no worker. They had a scruffy beard and white like snow hair. I gulped, and I ran out of the store, going back to the car where my friends were waiting. They asked me why I took so long, and I explained to them everything that had happened. They just laughed. I guess they found it humorous, but they weren't the ones who had to deal with it. So we pile in the car and we leave. And I look back, seeing the same guy that had been watching me. He's waving and he's blowing a kiss, wording something I couldn't exactly put together. All I know is if I didn't say anything in the bathroom, something would have probably happened. Something that would have stuck with me forever. Now I know to never go to that store again, and being a woman, I should at least stick with the friend at all times. Number 5. Another Costco Creeper. Submitted by Garrison L. I'm 13 years old and I live in Idaho, but for most of my life I lived in California. This happened when I was about 6 or 7, and it's something I can never forget. My mom had gathered my family up to go and get some groceries, and since the closest thing was Costco, that's where we went. We pull into the parking lot, and my brother, who was 5 at the time, points out this man almost immediately. He looked to be in his 40s. He was outside sitting on a bench. My mom hasn't noticed him yet, so me and my brother and my sister just kept staring at him. He seemed to notice us though, and he waved at us. I just freaked out, because that happened to be the week our teacher was teaching us about stranger danger and how to react. So I turned around and stopped looking at the guy, and so did my siblings. So my mom finds a spot, and we all get out and head towards the store. Being little with so much curiosity, I look at the bench where the man was. But he's no longer sitting there. In fact, he's nowhere to be seen. I didn't think much of it, so I just kept walking, following my mom. We're getting bread now, and I feel my brother pull on me. I say, "What?" He says to me that the same guy from the bench before just peeked around the corner, over there. I thought he was just joking, trying to scare me. But sure enough, when I glanced over, that man was poking his head around. It was creepy in and of itself, and was also a strange thing for an adult to do. So of course I told my mom, and she said it was okay, and that if we saw him again to let her know. We didn't see him again, but we had the strong suspicion that he was following us. We're at the frozen foods section. Our mother is letting us pick out some ice cream, and we're just trying to choose what we want. Now keep in mind my mom is nearby, but she's facing the opposite side of the aisle. And that's when we hear a deep voice say to us, "I can get you whatever ice cream you want." And there, standing no more than 10 feet away from us, is the same guy. I'm now more curious than nervous, and the guy continues, "Yep, all you gotta do is follow me. I own an ice cream truck, and it has lots of free ice cream, as much as you could want." Being a kid and being so innocent, I was very trusting of adults. I mean, the two people I looked up to most were adults, so can you blame me for beginning to feel a little excited? I tell him, "I've got to ask my mom first." But he replies with, "Oh, no, it's okay. I already asked her and she said, sure thing." I looked over to my brother and sister, and they looked more excited than I've ever seen them. But I wanted to be cautious, and I said, "We should probably still ask just to make sure." And that's when the worst happened. This stranger, this older man, grabbed me by the arm and literally ran. I didn't know what else to do. I just started to scream, kick, and bite, and luckily it got people's attention. I guess he got afraid, so he put me down, but just in time some security guards showed up, and they took the guy to the entrance to wait for the police. The employees are trying to cheer me up, and my mom comes over and picks me up and hugs me, but I can't stop crying. My mom calls it a day early, and the cops are finally there, and as we're leaving I see the guy being taken into a car, and wouldn't you freaking know it, the lunatic smiles at me before he ducks his head inside the vehicle. And that, thankfully, was the last time I ever saw him. It took me a while to get used to older men, even my dad and uncles. But in the end, I turned out fine. So, creeper from Costco, let's never ever meet again. Number 6. Costco Scary Story. Submitted by Megan J. My father and I frequently visit our local Costco. We go there every Saturday on a shopping trip. This day in particular happened about a year ago. We were walking to the food court to pick up our pizza that we got every time we went. I had to use the restroom, so I told my dad that I'd be back in about 5 minutes. I chose the stall closest to the end of the bathroom, and I proceeded to do my business. But not even a minute after I sat down, a mother and 2 daughters walked in, and right away I heard the mother shout to the older one, "Shh, she'll see." I figured that she meant me, so I pulled my legs up. Then one of her creepy little daughters stuck their head under the stall. She looked up at me and smiled. "I see you," she said with this big toothy grin. I remember thinking to myself, what the heck are they doing? But her mother didn't do anything about it. The girl just sat there, staring at me. I pressed up against the wall as much as I could. I was very, very horrified. She finally pulled out her head, and I was relieved she was gone. I get out of my stall and bolted out, and the mother was standing there at the sink. She looked scared as I was, and now that I saw her clearly, she was unbelievably skinny, like a drug addict skinny. When I rushed to my dad, who was sitting at the table, he asked me, "Is everything okay?" I said nothing. The mother walked out of the bathroom eventually. She glared at me, and that was the last time I used a Costco restroom. And it is by far both the creepiest and the most bizarre experience I have ever had. Now, don't let these stories scare you away from Costco or Walmart or the groceries that your family needs. These stories are the rare experiences, the exceptions, because most folks will run their errands without a hassle in the world. But there's still always that small chance, maybe even 1 in a million. And if you're that one, you're gonna have more than a bad time. You're gonna be scarred for life, if you make it out with your life. Good night. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to check out zombielips.squarespace.com to make your skin feel less frightening. Thanks.